and welcome to Monson Made This. My name is Michael, and I cook vegan food, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up while you are down there. I did promise a month of bean videos, and I'm still going to follow through with that. I have technically 3 bean videos up already. I have the mini chimichanga video with some refried beans. I have the tomato and white bean video, and then technically my last video, the chickpea flour egg video, that's technically a bean video as well. But with times being kind of weird right now and people looking for more recipes that are using pantry staples or things that are easily found around the house, I decided to make this quick and easy scalloped potatoes recipe. And comment below what you think this should actually be called, if it's scalloped potatoes or potatoes au gratin or dauphinoise, I think I'm saying that right. I wasn't sure exactly what to call this, but either way, this is a really quick and easy, fast way to make a really creamy and rich, delicious vegan potato dish. So the first thing I need to do is cut up this onion and these potatoes, and I'm going to be using the mandolin here with a safety glove. So let me reorganize some things here and get cutting, and then we'll make a really easy cashew cream sauce in the magic bullet, and then we'll cook everything together on the stove, finish it off in the oven. I'm going to be cooking 1.5 pounds of potatoes, and for that amount of potatoes I need 1/2 of an onion. So I'm just going to quickly just prepare this half by removing the skin, and then this is going to be cut up on the mandolin, and then I'll do the potatoes at the same time, just doing all the cut work up front. I bought this chopping glove, I guess it's called. I guess it has steel fibers, other things in it that prevent you from cutting yourself, especially as you're coming close to a blade here, because this old school mandolin that I have doesn't actually have a guard on it. So I'm just gonna start chopping this onion. I'm about at 3/16, so somewhere between 1/4 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch. If you don't have a mandolin, you could use a food processor, or you could just use a knife. It looks so dangerous. This is why I wear the glove. All right, that's good. All right, I'm just gonna take the onions off the cutting board here because they're gonna go in at a separate time from the potatoes. And let's start slicing the potatoes up. These are Yukon Gold potato, which I think are the best for this recipe. If you only have russet around the house or small baby red potatoes, those would work as well. The Yukon Gold just has a nice creamier texture and kind of releases a bit more starch into the liquid when it cooks, which just helps the whole dish get a little bit creamier, but use what you have. If it looks like I'm struggling with this, I am. I don't know if it's just like an old crappy mandolin or what, but I am very grateful that I have this glove. So definitely be careful if you use a mandolin at home. Use the guard, use the glove. I'm not sure why I'm having such a difficult time with this today, but I am, and I'm very grateful for this. Okay, so all the potatoes are done. The onions are done. I'm gonna move this back behind me, pull out my magic bullet, start blending the sauce up, and then it's time to cook. So I have all the ingredients that I need for my quick cashew sauce, and this is basically just an equivalent of heavy cream. So the main things that you need here are just cashews and water. I do have some other flavorings here to boost it up, but if you just had cashews and water and maybe some garlic and seasonings, you would be okay. If you don't have cashews, I'm gonna be using hot water in addition to this. You could just use all broth, or you could even just use all like almond milk or soy milk, something that's unsweetened, and you should be able to get a similar texture in the end. But I like the creaminess of the cashews, so that's what I'm using today. I have a 1/2 cup of cashews in here that I'm adding 1 cup of water to, and I'm gonna add quite a few cloves of garlic because I love garlic. I have some nutritional yeast here, something that I'm just kind of adding in today. When I tested the recipe originally, I didn't use nutritional yeast. It's usually something that gives a nice cheesy flavor to vegan foods. I don't really think that it reads cheese in this, but it gives it a nice savoriness that just helps the creamy flavor. And last thing is some no chicken better than bouillon. If you did not have this, you could easily just substitute in vegetable broth for the water in here, and again the vegetable broth for the hot water that we're going to be using in just a moment. So I'm gonna throw this onto the Magic Bullet. Technically it's my NutriBullet. Blend this up until nice and creamy, and that's it, and we're ready to cook. And that's it, it's done, blended for about 45 seconds, I guess. So I'm gonna take this with me back to the stove, and time to make this potato dish. I have a 10-inch skillet that is oven safe, and that's what I'm gonna be cooking this in, both on the stovetop and in the oven. If you didn't have a pan that was oven safe, you can do all the stovetop stuff like I'm gonna do now ahead of time, and then transfer it to a baking dish or a casserole dish and just finish that part off in the oven. In addition to this stuff here that I have, I've already boiled some water, so this is hot and ready to go. And I'm ready to cook my onions. These are gonna go first to develop a little bit of flavor. I had some olive oil in here, which is gonna help them brown. If you are oil free, as a lot of people that watch my channel are, you can just omit the oil if you know how to sweat some onions out. So this is just gonna cook here. I'm gonna saute it around. As soon as these get nice and soft and maybe even a little bit brown, then we're gonna add the potatoes, start adding our liquids, a little bit more seasonings, and we're ready to go. Oh, wait, sorry, one last thing. Red pepper flake. And I think I'll add a little bit of salt now too. Remember that we added salts, or we added the no chicken better than bouillon. That's quite salty, so depending on how salty your broth is, your bouillon, you wanna make sure to salt accordingly to your taste. I love this smell. Nothing like the smell of onions cooking. It just instantly makes your house smell delicious. So these onions are beautiful. They smell amazing. They've got a slight goldenness. It's ready to add, or it's ready. I'm ready to add the potatoes now. So I'm just gonna throw these in here, trying to separate them. Now, the reason I've used 1.5 pounds is because that's the size for this particular pan that I'm using. So if you wanted to make a bigger batch, or if you had a different size pan, then just kind of cut your potatoes first and then measure to see how many potatoes will fit into that. And then I'll show you how you can kind of judge the liquid components as well to be able to kind of alter how much you make. And I spent all this time getting these in here in a single layer, but I need to stir them so that I can incorporate the onions in with the potatoes a little bit. I'm still on about a medium-high heat as well, which is where I want to keep it. And the next thing I'm going to do is add my boiling water. And it doesn't matter if this doesn't get like totally mixed up. It's going to bake and the flavors are all going to mingle and it's going to be beautiful. All right, before I add the water, actually, I'm going to be adding a little bit of seasoning. This stuff is called, reach over here, it is called organic no salt seasoning. Basically, 21 seasoning salute at Trader Joe's is the same thing. Bragg's has one. You just want kind of a no salt multi-spice seasoning. If you don't have that, then just throw a pinch of garlic powder and onion powder and your favorite spices and seasonings into the pan. All right, so hot water. This is going to go about halfway up the potatoes. And you can see because we've got hot water, hot pan. So that's about halfway up the potatoes. Now I'm going to add my cashew cream. All right, I'm gonna crank up the heat just a little bit here. Now I'm gonna be simmering this on the stovetop for about 5 minutes with a lid on once this comes up to temperature. And then after that 5 minutes, I'm gonna take the lid off and that's when it goes into the oven. So you can see how much liquid we have in here. It's just barely at the surface of the potatoes. I might even add just a tiny bit more water in there. So the starch on the potatoes as well as the cashew cream, it's all gonna thicken up nicely in the oven and it's gonna be just a really thick, creamy sauce in the end. All right, so this is bubbling up and it's kind of at a light simmer. This is now I'm gonna put the lid on, which just barely fits, and I'm gonna let this go for 5 minutes. And what this does is just helps the potato start to cook, gets everything going so that when it goes in the oven, it's more concentrated on reducing a little bit more and browning the top. And it allows us to cook it in the oven for only 30 minutes versus normally you'd have to cook it for about an hour. So 5 minutes on this, lift it off, right into the oven. 5 minutes is up and this has been bubbling away. Smells incredible in here. Last thing I'm gonna do before I put it into the oven is sprinkle it with some fresh cracked black pepper. And I have a little bit of nutmeg. This is just something that's traditionally added to creamy things. So I'm just adding a little bit to the top. Not too much, just a pinch. And my oven is already preheated to 425. You can see we got bubbles going. And let's put it directly into the oven. I have a little thing on the bottom of it just to, in case there's a little bit of a spillover, so you could put some foil or parchment paper below that. 30 minutes is what I'm setting my timer for. And I'll be checking it probably around 20 minutes just to see. What we want is bubbles to come around the center. There's gonna be bubbles around the side the whole time, but we really want bubbles in the center to make sure that everything is cooking through evenly. And then it's gonna start browning and getting beautiful golden on top. And at 30 minutes, if it's not perfectly golden, I might pull it, test it and see if the potatoes are done, and then possibly throw it into the broiler just to get the most perfect, beautiful browning on top. So I'll see you in 30 minutes. 30 minutes is up. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this out. It's still really bubbly and hot. You can see it's kind of started to get a nice golden color on there. What I wanna do is just stick a fork in and see if it is cooked. And the fork just goes right in, comes right out, beautiful. For cosmetic purposes alone, I am going to actually put this in my smart oven on the broiler setting. If you have a broiler in your oven separately, use that, or crank up the heat for a minute. You don't even need to do that. It's perfectly cooked, but I just want it to have a beautiful, like, even golden. So I'm gonna throw this in the broiler. I'm not gonna step away. I'm gonna watch it. And in a minute or two, it should be done. All right, look at that. Added a little bit more color. I'm perfectly happy with it. Don't want to overdo it. It smells incredible. It's beautiful, bubbly. Got some crispy bits on top. One last thing I'm gonna do before allowing it to cool for about 10 minutes or so is I've just got some fresh basil here, which is the only fresh herb I have in my refrigerator right now. So I'm just gonna sprinkle some of this on top. It's gonna add some nice flavor. It's gonna also add a nice aroma, add some beautiful green color. If you had parsley, that would probably be a perfect herb to go on here as well. So this is gonna hang out for 10 minutes because I'm not about to put molten hot potatoes into my mouth. We're gonna take some photos and then I'll be right back to dish it up, give you a delicious taste test. I'm so excited. That wait was torture, but just look how beautiful I was able to scoop this out. This dish, I honestly had not been feeling too well, feeling, you know, not that hungry, maybe a little bit sad, and, you know, just kind of feeling the general mood of the world right now. And one day I just decided to throw this together, and I had been watching a lot of PBS shows, particularly a Jamie Oliver cooking show, and he made something similar to this, and so I decided to throw things together to see if I could make a vegan version, and I am so happy with this. This is just pure comfort heaven. It just is creamy and savory, and it just gives you everything that you want from a comfort food dish, and it comes together so quickly, very few simple ingredients. You've definitely got to give this a try. So thank you to all of you that are following me on Patreon and supporting me over there. If you'd like to, go follow the link below to my Patreon. You'll see the Monson ate this, and that's where I will be finishing this, having a little bit of a chat, just kind of like my after show, a little bit more of a casual experience with me. If you make this recipe, definitely take a picture, tag me on Instagram at monsonmadethis, follow me over there. And I don't think I've mentioned it yet, but the full recipe is actually on monsonmadethis.com. There will be a link below, or you could just go to monsonmadethis.com and check out all the recipes that are over there. Obviously, I can't keep myself away from this. I'm so excited to dive in. So thank you again for watching. I'll be back next time with another recipe video. And y'all stay safe, be happy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.